home stretch we go. Our next caller is Paul in Dublin, Ohio, listening on AM 820. Paul, you're on with John Martignoni.
Yeah, I had two questions relating to the Supreme Court ruling. First, my wife and I want to talk to our teenage kids about it and explain it from the church's standpoint and what this means. How would you recommend that? And secondly, when I talk to somebody that's non-religious, how do I engage in a conversation that says this is not a good thing, because they look at it as for, being bigoted if you don't approve of that. How do you address that to people who aren't related to the church or religion?
Okay. First thing, how old is your child?
18, 16. They're teenagers in high school and then junior high also.
All right. Very good. Well, you can approach both conversations with someone who's in the church, someone who's not in the church in the same in the same way. At least start them off. First thing I asked someone, I said, okay, if you look at a man and a woman, and I say, let's leave God out of the picture for a moment. Okay? Leaving God out of the picture. If you look at a man and a woman, how did nature design their bodies? Were their bodies designed for two men to come together and for two women to come together, or for a man and a woman to come together? Well, easy answer, I hope, for a 16-year-old and an 18-year-old. Nature designed human beings' bodies in such a way that male and female are to come together to produce a child. All right? Two men coming together, not wanting to be graphic, but and you can get as graphic as you want. I got pretty graphic with my 17-year-old at the time, and it's not a healthy thing. It's not a good thing. And it's, so if nature designed it that way, then you can say that two men coming together, two women coming together is a priori unnatural. It is an unnatural thing. Whenever you try to do something that is contrary to nature, something bad happens. For example, if you try to use a hammer, or let's take a screwdriver. If you try to use a screwdriver, which is made for a certain purpose, you try to use it as a hammer, what's going to happen? Well, you're probably not going to get the nail hammered in. You're going to hurt the screwdriver, and you might hurt yourself. Okay? So when you use things in a way that they were not designed to be used, harm results. Bad things result. When you try to use the human body in ways that it's not designed to be used, bad things are going to result. And you can look up the statistics for people with same-sex attraction who are engaging in same-sex activity. Higher rates of various illnesses, rectal cancer, skyrockets, alcoholism, drug abuse, etc., etc. It is not a good thing for those people. It is harmful physically. Now, if nature has a God that designed nature, well, then you can say that if nature shows that two men coming together and two women coming together is unnatural, then you can pretty much infer that nature's God is saying the same thing, since he's the one who designed nature. So God is saying, and Scripture backs us up on that, Romans chapter 1, for example, that two men coming together is not good for them, for anyone. Two women, same thing. And and now you're talking not just on the physical level, but on the spiritual level as well. And if our ultimate concern is the salvation of the soul, and we're saying that it's okay for two people to do something that could very well land them up in hell for all of eternity, how is that in any way, shape, or form love? It cannot be described as love. And if you have two men who are engaged in things, or two women that are engaged in activities that will lead them and the one they love potentially to hell, how can you say that's love? Love is doing what's right for the other person. And, if doing something with the other person causes that person to be damned for all eternity, well, how can you say you love that person? Now you say, well, we don't believe in God and all that stuff. Well, now let's talk back on the physical. You're doing something that is going to cause very possibly higher rates of disease for this person, and I haven't even mentioned AIDS yet. Higher rates of disease, higher rates of various illnesses, mental, physical, etc. Um, Addictions, harmful addictions. There is nothing about this that screams love, love, love. It screams me, 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 I want what I want, and I refuse God, and I refuse to do what's right for the other person. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you. I really appreciate it.
And I'll tell you, Paul, with regard to sounding hateful when you're talking to maybe people other than your children, a good way to frame that in a loving way is to say, marriage in all societies in human history was an institution designed to protect the rights of helpless children that came from the union of a man and a woman. And that's what all you can frame your conversation around. I'm really concerned that the rights of helpless children are not going to be protected.
Absolutely, and that's all the studies show that children are better off being raised by two parents, one of whom is male and one of whom is female. And this basically has tossed that norm aside. And again, you're talking about a grand social experiment where the big losers are going to be the children.
Okay, great.
Thanks
Well,
so much,
thank you.
Paul. Appreciate the phone call. We'll stay in Ohio. Thomas in Canton.